Thank you, Ben. So my name's David Bristol and I'm from Avocor. Who are Avocor? Avocor, we're a globally operated manufacturer of large format collaboration displays. In the UK, we work extensively across enterprise, public sector, and within the NHS specifically, we have a number of testimonial sites where within meeting room spaces, training room spaces, and even ward spaces, our collaboration boards have been deployed. So, how to master meetings? The go-to-meeting process, we've heard from some of our customers, is often problematic. It can be clunky, it can be cumbersome, and there are a number of reasons as to why this is the case. Sometimes the consistency of meeting room technology differs from one meeting room to another or from one site to another. Often we have different users of different priorities using the same spaces with the assumption that the understanding of how to start the process in that meeting room will be the same. So there are a number of elements that we need to combat, and from a manufacturing perspective, the products that we've delivered have been done so under the auspice of streamlining that go-to-meeting process to improve productivity, to provide a familiar and safe working environment for members of the organisation with varying IT literacy levels, and ultimately to improve collaboration, as collaboration is something that is more than just a buzzword. Okay, but one of those elements I've touched upon just before, in terms of the go-to-meeting process, a recent study Microsoft conducted is that up to 12 minutes can be wasted within a meeting room booking. Now, sometimes it's as simple as HDMI and a USB going into a laptop, but if the user isn't educated or familiar with the space, a simple process for an IT member of staff can be something quite laborious for a non-IT member of staff. And ultimately, what this means is that the real estate and our productivity becomes wasted, if you like. So we're trying to enhance the productivity and the value that the meeting room and the spaces within organisations provide. So within the Avocor portfolio, we have three specific series. We've got an E and an F series that serve under our open collaboration perspective. And we've got our Windows collaboration display, which we've built in partnership with Microsoft, that runs on a slightly different format. To give you an overview of the E, the F, and the WCD, one thing to caveat beforehand is that when using any one of the screens, they all have an identical user experience. And that comes down to assimilating to the product, touching the product, and the functionality. And I'll show you that in terms of the demonstration. Some overviews of the Windows collaboration display. We have a fully integrated standalone device. There's no onboard processor, deliberately because of two elements. This features a USB-C input. So if you have a USB-C laptop, you can connect it with a single cable, and it takes that desktop environment to room scale with a single cable. Now that alleviates a HDMI, a USB, and even laptop chargers, as that USB-C provides multi-purpose in the meeting room. With the cameras, the microphones, and the IoT sensors built in, we can use it as an endpoint out of the box for any UC platform, whether it be Teams, Skype, Medio, Zoom. I mentioned the IoT sensor, again, deliberately built within the display. In its first instance, it understands presence in the room, it understands occupancy. So if I, as a layman user, walk into a room where WCD has been deployed, it recognizes presence, boots up the splash screen, and prompts the user to connect their device, meaning no time spent flurrying around the room trying to find a remote control. Now, with the F series, which is the screen that I'm running on at the moment, it runs on a slightly different basis. We haven't got IoT built in, and we haven't got a USB-C, nor have we got cameras or microphones built into the shell. But what we do run in is that open collaboration perspective. And this is, as we see, really valuable for the NHS. The reason being, no meeting room, no huddle space, no training space has the same requirements, certainly isn't the same size or has the same priority attached. And therefore we need to be flexible. And across the E and the F series, we have three sizes, 65-inch, 75-inch, and 86-inch. They're all 4K. You can slot a PC into the side so it runs as a standalone device. And this is the scenario we're running off today. Now, because we haven't got the camera and the microphone built into the shell, it allows yourselves to maybe redeploy existing equipment, or rather work with the guys involved to work on a specified and bespoke solution for each and every meeting room space, whether it's Logitech, whether it's Polycom, Crestron, etc. So moving on from the product portfolio overview, let's get slightly more granular and let's come into a demonstration. So if we're talking familiarity, the first thing that I will leverage, I'll come out of my presentation mode and I'll just minimize PowerPoint just to show you guys that we are running in the desktop environment, and that's really important. We need a safe haven for a user to come into a meeting room and to be able to start a session quickly and easily. And if at the desktop level they're running Windows 10, which we expect to be the case, bearing in mind the support for Windows 7 will soon be ending, it provides a quicker and an easier and a comfortable space, because if a user sees their start menu in the bottom left-hand corner, it provides easy access for starting a program quickly and easily. Okay, so familiarity is one element, but productivity acceleration is one of our key attributes. Now, when we talk productivity acceleration, we assume that the users will be running in an office environment for presentations or for meetings or for training. So if I were to come back to one of the previous slides that you guys have seen today and take either the Avocor stylus or an alternative stylus, I can select a slide, I can annotate onto that slide and make some notes. I can even put this into presentation mode. So if I start my presentation session here, what's unique about the Avocor portfolio is the touch technology, consistent across the three sizes, recognizes the difference between the object that touches the screen. Okay, and because it's understanding surface area, that means that not if, but when one of these goes walkies, I can use an alternative stylus to perform the same process. Okay, so if I navigate with my finger, simple gestures like a tablet or smartphone level, if I navigate, use my finger, if I pick the stylus up and I annotate onto the screen, I can work my way through the presentation, but I can also revert back and make amendments on the fly by using my palm as the eraser. The process for the general user base is simple. To make best use of the Avocor portfolio, you need to understand that your finger will always be a mouse, the stylus will always be an inking tool, and the palm will always be an eraser. Really simple. And we're leveraging PowerPoint here. I'm not going to introduce a proprietary piece of software, nothing license-based, nothing that the organization hasn't already got. We just want to reimagine and re-educate how PowerPoint can be used. Now, this is just a simple presentation environment. Let's say I wanted to bring in some blank slides. Let's say we're in a training environment or a project space, maybe. If I bring in a couple of blank slides and I start that process again, what you'll now see within my PowerPoint is I've got a whiteboard. So if I put some notes on here, let's say we've got some actions or we're collating meeting minutes during or after the session, I can, again, like before, show you other slides. So maybe this is a flip chart scenario also, but show you other slides within my document. And when we get to the end of the session, and I'll skip to the end, we have a prompt pop up on screen, and this is super important as it allows us to keep or discard the information we've added during the session. So we're digitizing information immediately in the room. I'm going to tap keep. You'll be able to see my blank slide with annotation built in. The final element of this, and possibly the most compelling, is the compliance element. If we needed to distribute this slide deck to a partner with another authority or trust, we may not be able to guarantee the version of Office they're running on. They may not be able to reciprocate with inking at their end. However, we can ensure viewership is possible, because this is just a .ppt document, and the annotation I brought in is an object, no different to any other object we have within our PowerPoint. So productivity acceleration, hopefully it can be understood there just by using PowerPoint. So familiarity we've discussed, productivity acceleration we've discussed, and we've talked about the product portfolio. Let's now talk about Microsoft Whiteboard, okay? So Microsoft Whiteboard, if you're not familiar with it, is a standard part of your Office license now. Therefore, no purchase. It can be accessed via the Windows 10 store. It will need IT administration to enable it. But what we have here is something different, something slightly more advanced from PowerPoint. We can use PowerPoint for beginners to intermediates in terms of whiteboarding. But if we need a elaborate and comprehensive infinite canvas space, well, let's look at this space here. I've already written up project space. I can pick my stylus up and we've got the same functionality that you saw beforehand. So I can maybe mark up on my screen and pan off into any direction. And because we have an infinite space, well, you can imagine now how we can reuse the real estate that we currently have at our behest. Now, what I might also want to do is quickly jump between different project spaces. And one reason this would be relevant is because at the top right-hand corner here, if I were to tap this blue button, that gives me the ability to invite other users to this project space. So if I had a colleague that was with a partner or within a different part of the facility, I type their email address in, that lands in their inbox as an email with an invitation, and they can view that on any device now. I could load that up on my iOS device, on my Android device, or my Win 10 device. And we're not just providing viewership, but that the person that's been invited to the canvas can now participate and collaborate within that session. So we're joining the dots, if you like. But in terms of general use of the whiteboarding piece of software, we've got different colors at the bottom, relatively straightforward. We can bring in a lasso tool, so I can lasso information and maybe move that across my project space or simply just remove. I can bring in sticky notes. Again, digitizing project spaces that may already be within your facility. I can bring in information from the web, I can bring in local information, and we can even take photographs of analog information in the room using the camera equipment that we're running within this setup. So Microsoft Whiteboard might be something you want to explore further after this session. Another driver for us would be using our existing devices with this equipment. Assuming you have Windows 10 devices at desktop level, a standard feature within the Windows 10 ecosystem is Connect. That allows me to bring my laptop, tap the action center in the bottom right-hand corner, search for a device, and seamlessly cast without any licensing, without any cost, and without any download, and certainly no periphery. So very simple, very easy to do. Just finally, coming back to the go-to-meeting process. We often see the desktop environment as value, as strength, due to its familiarity. However, we can't always guarantee that every member of an organization shares that same perspective, and it comes down to IT literacy. So we've managed to work with one of our partners, and we can provide a layer, a GUI, on top of that desktop environment that is entirely configurable. We can support with the configuration of this interface, not just the aesthetics in terms of color scheme, layouts, logo, room name, but how the interface talks with that back-end architecture. Now, what you can see here is we've invited the screen to a Skype for Business call, we've invited it to a Teams call. This is agnostic. We have a Win 10 PC in the background. We could invite it to a Zoom call, a Hangouts call, a WebEx call if required. It doesn't matter. But the premise of this is, if I come into a meeting room and the meeting room's been booked for a call or simply just for a presentation, I can tap a single button and it can start that process. It can take me to where I need to be with a single button rather than having to navigate the start menu to find my program or application, turn on video and audio, and again, potentially lose time within the allocated meeting reservation. At the end of the session, we can also configure a reset room function. So within this example, our booking between 1 and 2, at 2 o'clock, if we've enabled it, we can have the room to reset. We can have the room clear information that was previously accessed, and also share the information that was accessed with the participants of that session. So it provides a very user-friendly, problem-free way of presenting, communicating, collaborating, using the vehicle within the room.